Running is such a positive influence in my life, and I think since you're watching this video, it's probably safe to assume that you feel the same. But as is with pretty much every positive thing in life, there can be a shadow side to it. I think most of us know of a runner who uses running as a coping mechanism, a way to avoid facing their past problems and their current problems in their current situation. Or we know of a runner who is never satisfied with their personal record, never satisfied with the number of races they do in a year or the distance of those races. There are many ways which running can switch from a healthy hobby to a dark abyss of avoidance and pain. And the problem with runners is that we have a hard time finding where that line is, and we flirt with it. About a year ago, I read Homer's Odyssey, and I was pretty familiar with some of the more popular parts, and so when I got to the part about the sirens, where Odysseus sails past the sirens, I was a little confused, because I expected a description of beautiful, seductive women luring sailors to their inevitable rocky death. At least that's the image that I've seen portrayed in paintings and in movies and just pop culture in general. But that's not what Homer wrote. The sirens were never described as women at all. They were described more as monsters or creatures. The women part was added later. And the island was described as beautiful, not foreboding. And so, if they weren't beautiful women, what made them so seductive? Why were sailors turning their ships and willingly sailing to their inevitable death? It was the words that they said. It was the siren song. But again, I was surprised here. They did not say or sing what I expected them to. I expected them to promise pleasure or at least rest from the voyage, but they didn't say that at all. The power behind the siren song, behind the siren's words, was that they knew exactly what Odysseus wanted to hear. And so they started with flattery. They filled his ears with praise and with adoration of who Odysseus was. And then they promised knowledge and wisdom that would give him the military glory that he was seeking. That section of the story is popular for a reason. It is incredibly powerful and it correlates directly to life. But when I read it, the way that it was originally written, it made me think about it in a different way. One that correlates directly to running and to life. First, let's talk about running. In the Odyssey, the island that the sirens are on, it's not described as scary or foreboding or dangerous. It's described as beautiful and peaceful. Likewise, the danger of running can be invisible. Running appears to be a healthy, safe hobby. In the story, the sirens tell you words that you want to hear. And when you listen to and follow the words that you want to hear, it can feel like fulfillment, like validation, like a sense of arrival. But in reality, these words are just death and destruction disguised as fulfillment. As runners, we get that validation as we finish another race, and that voice beckons to us to come closer to the island, telling us, this is who you are. Prove to everyone with one more race, or with a slightly better PR, hitting that sub 3-hour marathon. Or we feel the pain of the past just below the surface, and so we bury it with hill repeats in the hottest part of the day. Now, not every runner has these problems, or I'm not saying that every runner takes running too far. But what I am saying is I think it's worth examining our hobbies and our habits to see if we've slipped into the shadow side of what was initially a healthy practice. Because the sailors who died in the story, the ones who died on the island of the sirens, didn't row towards their deaths screaming. They rowed toward them willingly, blissfully, smiling probably, because it felt like arrival. It felt like fulfillment, like they had finally found that one thing that was missing. Now, with life, think about your phone, specifically social media. The algorithms on your phone know your name, your history, your desires, your fears. Each algorithm has studied you longer and more carefully than any person in your life. It knows exactly which content will capture you, the content that will make you feel seen, outraged, inspired, validated. The algorithms on the apps on your phone have one job, and that is to capture your attention and make you row just a little bit closer. Like the island, our phones don't necessarily look foreboding. They look like connection. They look like staying informed or relevant or close to the people that you love. But we all know that feeling that we get after we opened our phone originally to text someone back, but we ended up doom scrolling. When we finally look up from our phone after all that time wasted, it feels like you're on the island of the sirens, surrounded by the bones of lost time and attention. But yet, we go back because the algorithm beckons, telling us what we want to hear, showing us what we want to see. That's not an accident either, that's by design. And we all know this. We know our phones are designed for addiction. Odysseus, similarly, also knew the danger of the sirens. He was warned by Circe. And so when he was going towards the sirens, he made a plan. He had his crew tie him to the mast, and then he had his entire crew plug their ears with beeswax. But the interesting thing to me is that he consciously chose to listen to the sirens. He could have easily plugged his own ears with the same beeswax, but he didn't. And I think this is incredibly interesting. And I love that there's no explanation. It's up to us to understand why he didn't plug his own ears. If we look at the Odyssey, the entire story, Odysseus consistently acts as though he is the exception to everything. And this is yet another reckless move to prove to everyone that he is the exception, that he is the best. To plug his ears would be to admit that he was normal, that he was just like everyone else, he was ordinary, and that he needed protecting like everyone else. But to hear them, even while strapped to the mast, means that he could say after, "I heard the song and lived." It becomes part of the legend. It becomes part of his identity. And so, in my opinion, Odysseus is the runner that signs up for the 100-miler knowing that he's not ready. Odysseus is the runner that keeps training even though the injury hasn't fully healed. He's the runner that chooses physical difficulty over the emotional difficulty of actually healing. Odysseus and people like him will plug the ears of everyone around them by not telling them the truth. The runner will hide their injury from their fellow runners or their coach. They will give vague answers to their spouse, but they leave their own ears open because they can hear the siren voices singing, "This is who you are. You are someone who does hard things. You are someone who doesn't quit." And the dangerous part is that the voice isn't fully wrong. Running has made them into someone that does hard things. The song isn't a lie. It's just telling you what you want to hear. Because that's the thing. The most dangerous traps in your life probably don't even look like traps. They look like exactly what you want. They know your name. They speak to your specific hunger. They promise you the one thing that feels most meaningful, whatever that is to you. The sailors who wrecked their ships and drowned in the ocean looked past the danger until it was too late. And I think that's the point. The siren song doesn't announce itself as a warning. It just sounds like your own thoughts, your own voice, telling you that you're fine, that you're different, and that you can handle it. And maybe you can. But that's exactly what all the sailors thought. But as always, I am not an expert in the Odyssey, in classical literature, or really any of this. This is just something that I've thought about ever since I read this book. And so I hope this was interesting or thought-provoking, and if it was, I hope you'll stick around and I'll catch you in the next video.